Okay, my friends, let me know if you can hear me. It is Saturday morning live stream here at the Garden Like a Viking headquarters, Zone 5B, 6A, Northern Indiana. And Mr. Muri is never late. Yes, thank you very much, Rovarino. Yes, a wizard is never late. He always arrives exactly when he intends to. Where's that from? It's so true. It's so true. That's the philosophy of my life as well. Okay, guys, so even though there is like a foot of snow on the ground and it's nice and cold finally, we are looking to the upcoming growing season, aren't we? So it's not going to be too much longer and we will be starting seeds for many things. That's why the last two videos that I made were about seed starting. The first one was a masterclass of seed starting. And the definition of masterclass really is like an expert, giving a seminar to advanced students. Yes? So that one was not so much for like the beginner. There's a lot of things in there that maybe the beginner doesn't really need to know. But that's why the following video was for the total beginners on a budget, because I don't want people to be shied or shunned away or steered away from starting seeds by thinking that it's overly complicated. Just because that's the level that I do things doesn't mean that's the level everyone has to do things. So the second solution was nice and budget friendly. So let's see who's here. Good morning from Texas, says Outpost Zebra. Good morning from the Midwest. Valerie, hello. Hi all in the chat. Good morning, Nate. Thanks for your knowledge. Yes, you're very welcome. Thank you for being receptive. Evil Royslade. Fermented cabbage taste testing tomorrow. Nice. How long has it been fermenting for? So you probably watched the video and you have made the sauerkraut, or really fermented cabbage. I mean, sauerkraut kind of can, some people gets turned off by that, but it's fermented, it's preserved cabbage. And that's how they used to do it back in the day, is they would ferment whatever the vegetables that they could ferment, and it would store over the wintertime. So like I showed you last week here, I've still got loads of vegetables fermenting. And at room temperature, you don't have to pack your refrigerator full of it, contrary to popular belief. So I've got cabbage downstairs, kimchi, which is a number of different vegetables, and ginger that I grew myself, and garlic and all that kind of stuff, all fermenting. I got fresh tomatoes still fermenting downstairs, peppers, smoked poblano hot sauce. All of it's at room temperature. And we're over the hump, it's late January now. And I still got tons of potatoes in the basement, nice and hard, tons of onions, although a lot of them didn't store that well this year. But many of them did. And I know why the ones didn't store that well. But garlic, got loads of garlic, still rock hard, all kinds of stuff. So guys, that's what it's all about, in my opinion, is to learn and to utilize and implement the ways that don't require fancy anything like refrigerator or electricity or any of that kind of stuff, because it's just good to know that, the ways of our ancestors. Yes, Nurse Nugget said hit that like button. Yes, my friends, if you would please hit the like button. So let's see. Miss KC says, update. Remember 3 weeks ago when I couldn't find my Costco card and y'all helped me with positive thoughts? I found it. Of course you did. Wonderful. That's the power of the collective consciousness, my friends. Lori says, I just spent 3 days treating my 85 houseplants for fungus gnats along with Viking houseplant fertilizer. Ooh, I should make some of that. So ready to learn more about garden starting. All right, well, you are in the right place, because here is a wealth of stuff for you to learn. And treating the houseplants for fungus gnats. So then that must mean that, with the commercial potting soils that you get from the store, guys, most of that is already got the eggs in it. I know it sounds gross, but most of it's already got the fungus gnat eggs in it, because over the years now, and especially now that all the costs are rising for the soil manufacturers and stuff, they're cutting corners every way that they possibly can. And so their procedures aren't as thorough as they used to be, not even close. And so for sure, if you're buying potting soil from the store, there's fungus gnat eggs already inside of it. So but they won't hatch or they won't become a problem. They'll be kept in check if you keep the environment inhospitable to them. Meaning, number one, you do not overwater. Most people, the vast majority of people, overwater their houseplants. The plants that we use as houseplants can go a long time without water. You can even wait until they start to wilt just a little bit, and then you water them thoroughly. That's how they like it. Those periods of dry and then wet. So, if you're seeing the fungus or the gnats and stuff like that, it's too much water and not enough air circulation and probably not enough heat. So utilize the labs. $1.99. Thank you, Miss KC. First tip of the day. I've been eating my kitchen sprouts every day. Nice. I'm glad that you are getting into the sprouts. The sprouts are a wonderful thing, and they get us through that hunger gap, what they call the hunger gap, where there's not any, like, your storage stuff, your winter squash and most of your potatoes and all that stuff from the previous season is pretty much getting consumed, but yet there's nothing growing yet in the garden. And that's like March, April, those 2 months in particular. Well, February, March, April can be. So that's the hunger gap. And so sprouts are a wonderful thing for that because the seeds will store for years. Well, a number of years if you store them right. Although they do lose some of their vigor, as I have found. James Howard says, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you too. Pam, hello. She says, thumbs up. Hello, Nate. Hello to all you wonderful people. And is it okay, Chad says, is it okay to add zinc to the compost in the form of pennies after 1982? Is that a serious question? No. I don't think that you'll gain anything from that. Oh yeah, ginger, cinnamon sticks, and cloves for this one. I boiled it all for about 10 minutes. Really good. A little bit of honey, of course. Okay, Chad, so I guess that was sort of a serious question. Yeah, that's we don't need to concern ourselves with adding pennies to the compost pile. I think that we can utilize things like the leaves and manures and compost, just regular compost. There'll be plenty of stuff in it. And remember, guys, you can pretty much compost anything. I mean, I haven't done a specific composting video yet, but there's so much information out there about, oh, you can compost this, but you can't compost that. You can't No, man, nature composts everything. And I compost anything. Whole dead rodents. When I was in the mountains, we would compost whole, like raccoons that you got. You can compost the whole body. So, and that's, bones, fats, all that stuff, you can all add it to the compost pile. The main thing is that it has the tendency to attract rats if it's any kind of food scrap. That's the main drawback. But if you have a plan in place, then it's not a problem. It's not an issue. And yes, anything will compost. Lori says, seems like every new plant has gnats. Yeah, I know. But they won't. You would think that with so many houseplants, if you watch my houseplant tour, you would think that I would have gnats all over the place. Never, none. Because the environment is not hospitable to them. And I can utilize the labs and stuff like that to help clean up any of the fungus, because they like to eat the fungus, the little green molds or whatever that's growing on top of the plant. And this is true for seedlings as well, so listen up. The little green fungus stuff that is growing on the top, the surface, and in the soil, that's what they like to eat. That's one thing they like to eat. And so by eliminating that, you're eliminating their food source, their main food source. Alexander says, what about coffee compost? Coffee is wonderful to add to the compost pile, yes. Now, it depends how much you're getting. I mean, if you own like a brewery or something, then it would be like a lot. But for most, then you would have to mix it with other things and stuff. But if for most of us, just the coffee that you consume, absolutely, you can add that to the compost pile. Very good. Yeah, very good. Let's see. How important, T. Judd says, how important is airflow? For what? Are we talking about houseplants still, or are we talking about seed starting? Or are we talking about in the ground outside? Because it's important for everything, actually. Because the plant has the leaf like this, and then there is a microclimate right around the millimeters around the leaf surface. And that is where the gas exchange is happening of the oxygen, and the CO2 absorbing. And so we need just ever so gentle enough where it can sweep that away and refresh it. Okay, refresh that microclimate around the leaf. And so if it's indoors, you want it to be just barely where you can see the leaves moving, just a little tiny bit. But you don't need them leaned over or anything like that. Okay, not for these kind of plants in this sort of situation. Let's see. Diametri, hello, my friend. She says, we recently bought a Arabica coffee plant. What fertilizers does it need? Now, I don't have a lot of experience with coffee plants because I've never been in a place long enough that grows them. And so, but I would say it's just like any other in the sense that make the soil thrive and get the community of microorganisms thriving and diverse, and that will enable the plant to formulate the appropriate relationships that it needs. So first and foremost, treat it with the JMS, with the microbial solution, okay? And then you want to provide a habitat for the microorganisms, mulch and organic matter and things like that, and utilize the JLFs. All the plants love the standard grass JLF. The standard grass fermented fertilizer is a really good one because it's well balanced. And most plants, pretty much all plants, are a distant relative of grass. And so they do really well with the nutrient profile in the grass. So I highly recommend to add plenty of the microbial solution. Once the microbes are up and thriving, then you won't have any more issues. And the plant will be able to do what it needs itself. And that's most important. And man, my nails grow so fast, it's crazy. I mean, before I even think to cut them again, they're just super long. It's really wild. It's because of the diet. A lot of you guys have asked about the beard and beard care, and my answer is the same with nails and all that stuff. It comes from the inside out, man. Lots of good quality proteins and good quality fats and stuff like that. I eat lots of good quality fats. And that just makes everything, all the stuff just grow. And the bone broth that you saw the video of, I drink the bone broth multiple times a week. And the bone marrow, I eat that. And that just makes the hair and nails explode. That's crazy. Plus, I like having a little bit of nails. It's very useful. When I cut my nails all the way, it's kind of very, I feel like I don't have proper grip on things. Okay, so Mad Dog, can I add all my food scraps to JLF? Could I use it like compost by adding all my organic stuff? I don't have access to wild grass. Okay, yes, you can. You can use the liquid fertilizer as a compost pile, basically. It's still not the same. It's not as good, obviously, because you're not getting the finished compost, and that's really the best. I mean, the liquid fertilizers are second best, but what the plant is going to be absorbing itself through its roots, that's best. And we call that the base fertilizer. So the base fertilizer, meaning what goes at the base of the plant, meaning your foundation, that there's no replacing that. And so that's why we like compost and manures and plant residues and things like that. But then for additional nutritional supplement, yes, we can utilize any of the various liquid fertilizers. The thing is that you wouldn't want to be adding stuff like oils. I mean, not too much oils and stuff like that to your liquid fertilizer. You'd want to stick. You have to be a little bit more choosy. But I mean, essentially, yeah, you can ferment anything into liquid fertilizers and you can use it. But you will have to. That's the one you will have to dilute the most because you have no idea what the nutritional profile is. It's still going to be good, great, but you don't. Like the grass, you kind of know, or the chicken manure fertilizer, you kind of know and stuff. But a totally just food scrap, smorgasbord of everything, that's going to be a little bit more unknown. So you want to dilute it plenty, okay? 300 to 1 to begin with, especially if you're using any salt in your food. So if you're putting salty stuff in there, you probably want to limit that, okay? So K Haas says, my nails are my tools. Absolutely, man. I feel the same way. Nails are very useful. And let's see. I emptied my JLF buckets to a third full. When should I refill? Zone 7B. Okay, Nancy. Zone 7B. Wow. Well, you might not have even had to empty them all the way, or empty them a third, even though it's always a good practice. But because the only reason that we empty them that much is to ensure that if they freeze solid, and I'm talking totally solid like they do here, that they won't burst the barrels. But it does 7B, I don't know if you freeze that solid, but regardless, once that danger is past, go ahead and start it back up again. Add some good non-chlorinated water, or some preferably rainwater. Really, you want to develop a system that captures the rainwater, because we want to be using rainwater in all of our ferments, in our microbial solution, in our, well, as much as we possibly can. We want to use rainwater or pond water, so long as you don't treat it with stuff. Let's see. Nancy says they did. We had a hard freeze for a week in Chattanooga. Wow. Okay. Then good. It's a good thing that you did that then. So I would say anytime that you are sure that the multiple days of hard freezes are gone, then you would go ahead and refill it again, and you'll be good to go. Let's see. Chad says, mine is like 5 years old. Have it in half barrel now, expecting to get some blooms on it this spring. Definitely needs light. Oh, you're talking about, okay. I think you're talking about a coffee plant. Hello, Taida. Hello. Let's see. And you roast your eggshells, then dissolve in homemade vinegar. Yes, that's right. Utilizing eggshells is better to grind them. Is it better to grind them? James says. Is it better to grind them into powder or leave them as little pieces when adding to soil for calcium uptake? Well, a number of things. So if you're going to add them to the soil, if you watch my eggshell fertilizer video, you will know that actually eggshells take a tremendous amount of time to break down. It's actually a gardening myth, pretty much, that adding eggshells to the soil gives it a calcium supply that plants can use, because it can take 10 years or more for eggshells to break down. I know that a lot of people have said to me, no, I put them in my compost pile and they're gone by the next year. That's just visually. They visually appear to be gone to your eyes because they have turned to like soil covered things. But it's both my experience and my researched knowledge that the eggshells take an impractical amount of time to break down and become plant available. So yes, Tree Rogi says for the worms. Now it's good if you powder them, you can use it for grit for the worms. They do love that. But as far as trying to get calcium to the plants, if that's your goal, the best way is to make the vinegar, extract it, and convert it from calcium carbonate to calcium acetate using the acetic acid. And so then we will, then you do what nature would do in like 20 years in like, 3 days. And so you can extract it that way and then feed it to the plants. That's the best way if you're trying to get calcium to the plants. Otherwise, yes, powder it first. Let's see. Dimitri says, I made the calcium acetate fantastic on our citrus trees. Yes, citrus trees, fruit trees, they love the calcium supplement in the leaves. They love that kind of stuff, especially if you combine it with a good microbial solution. Sweeping Page, hello, my friend. Glad you are here. And so have you grown peanuts? Is growing peanuts worth it? Anyone? I have not grown peanuts, no. So anyone that would have experience, please tell him. Or her, whoever it may be. So, can you overdo the calcium acetate? We have 12 laying hens. That's funny. Can you overdo the calcium acetate? Oh, well, like anything, remember guys, the good and the bad are opposite ends of the same thing. So too much of anything, of a good thing, can become a bad thing, definitely. So we have to be mindful of that. But that being said, you would have to really, if you stick with the dosages, you can add it, often. I mean, it's hard to overdo it, really, but you have to stick with the dosages. We're only using a teaspoon a gallon, so that is not much, but the plants don't need that much, especially if you spray it on the leaves. You can go to 2 teaspoons a gallon if you water it into the soil, okay? And you can use it with every watering. I mean, plants use a tremendous amount of calcium. They really do. To be good, strong, and healthy. So if your fruit or your produce, if it doesn't keep that long, then like after you pick it or it goes soft quickly, then that can be a sign of calcium deficiency. Calcium helps the produce to store for a long time and stay hard and fresh. Okay. Let's see. Roverino says, do you ever use raw molasses instead of boiled potatoes to make your leaf litter ferments? Never. Absolutely never. We never really use molasses, except for a few K&F things. And even there, we're going to use brown sugar. But for the most part, we used molasses with the fish fertilizer. But the thing is that there's a number of reasons we don't use molasses. One is because most of us don't produce molasses. So it's an input that we have to still purchase, which is not really the philosophy that we want to go towards. We want to purchase only what we absolutely have to. And we don't have to purchase molasses because we don't have to use it at all. And it digests too fast. So it makes the bacteria explode without, just some of the bacteria explode without nurturing the fungi and the other things. And so it can give us a really lopsided brew. And I'm simplifying a really lot of like chemistry and biology kind of stuff for this. But also, it will turn the brew acidic, okay? And that's not what we want. We don't want a really acidic brew, and that's what the molasses can do. Also, if we are adding too much sugars to the soil, then it is really confusing to the microorganisms. And this is the number one thing, is that we want the microorganisms to be hungry for the sugars produced by the plant, the exudates. And although the molasses is not similar to it, it's still a type of sugar that is not good to be adding to the soil. So for a lot of reasons, we don't use molasses. So Rachel, Successful Garden Design. Hello, good to see you, my friend. If you live in an alkaline soil area, is the eggshell still good to use, or is it calcium overkill? Well, the thing is that we're not sure what the plant available what the plant available amount is. So the chemistry of the soil is one thing, but the biology of the soil is another thing. And so it depends on the microorganism activity. And remember that for the most part, the plant will regulate the pH, the alkalinity or the acidity of what it needs based upon the activity of microorganisms around the rhizosphere, the area directly around the root. So even if 5 inches away from the plant or the root, the soil tests to be really alkaline, the area chances are very, very high, if you have a thriving soil food web, that the area immediately in contact with the root is the perfect pH for the plant. That's why pH of the soil doesn't matter that much. So what matters is the pH of the rhizosphere. I don't know if that answered the question, but still, yes, you can utilize the eggshell, because the calcium acetate is going to be in a form that is will be used by the plants and the microorganisms to convert it to plant available very quickly and easily. Siberut Infinite. Hi, Nate. Do you use coffee ground? Yes, but I just place them into the compost pile because worms love them, actually. I think they get a little bit of a buzz off of the caffeine. So worms really go crazy for the coffee grounds. One of the good ways that I learned from world traveling and stuff is that to dig a hole into the ground and put a fish, a whole egg, and a handful of coffee grounds into the hole, and then add about 6 inches or 8 inches of soil on top of that, and then plant your plant, whatever it is. In most cases, this is best for tomatoes. So yes, the combination of the fish, the whole egg, you throw it in there and crack it, and then the handful of coffee grounds, just the community of microorganisms. And I know because I've dug this up a couple of weeks and then a couple of months later. I did all kinds of experiments over the years, and it will just be a crazy megalopolis of microorganism activity. Yeah, so that's one I haven't made a video about, but that's a really good tip. So write that down. Rachel says, yes, of course. Great answer. Thanks. Yes, you're very welcome, my friend. Mish, hello. Good to see you. Hi, Nate. Several of my strawberries have spider mites. Do you suggest Dr. Bronner's for use as a horticultural soap? Okay, so are they indoors or are they outdoors already? And are you talking about new ones, or are those the bare? Were you the one getting the bare root strawberries? But spider mites, you need to decrease, if possible. You need to decrease the temperature and up the humidity. That's what spider mites do not like. So but for whatever reason, wherever you have them, if you do have them, then yes, I would recommend, of course, the outside. I would recommend the JDOM wetting agent, which I just make the video showing you how to make a small batch. I'm sure you could do the 5-gallon thing. It's not that intimidating if you just do it based exactly how I showed in the video, and you will have success. Yes, you can use Dr. Bronner's. It's essentially the same thing, but the JWA is so much stronger. In my experience, it's just so much thicker. It's like a 4 times concentrated Bronner's, and it doesn't have the other stuff in it. But that being said, if you just want a quick thing, yes, peppermint Bronner's is the best to utilize for that. And because it's a type of, it works in the same fashion. The JWA and the Bronner's, they are going to dissolve the body of the soft-bodied creature. So the mites, the aphids, the cabbage worms, so many of the the slugs, they get really, really irritated by the dissolvent, if that's a word, of the soap. And so you can, so if you really want to make a thing, you can add 2 ounces of the Bronner's or of the JWA to a gallon jug, and then add 1 or 2 teaspoons, but start with 1 teaspoon of sodium hydroxide of the lye, and spray that directly on them. If it makes direct contact with the mites, it will kill the mites in like 15 minutes. They will all be dead, so long as it makes contact with them, and it will not harm the plant, not at all. So you can try that, but that's like under some covers for winter. Okay, yeah. That so see, they got a nice warm, dry place, and so they're like, yeah, this is great. We're just gonna hunker down here for winter, on your strawberry plants. But now is the time where the eviction notice has to be served, and so they got to get out because you don't want to be having them, of course. Because what the mites do is they bite the plant leaf, and it signals to the plant to release a stress hormone to try to make the invader go away. But here's the part, is that the mites, they want the stress hormone. That's like what they're eating, is the stress hormone. So they're going to keep biting the plant, making it release the stress hormone. The plant's thinking that it's making them go away, but it's just feeding the mites. And so that's why they can just totally decimate the plants. So you need to get rid of them. And let's see here. She says, have lye in flakes. Dissolve first. Yes. Yes, definitely. Well, okay, so you have the gallon jug. Put in the two ounces of Bronner's, and then put in the teaspoon of the sodium hydroxide, and then just let it all, shake up. Let it all shake up in there first. It should dissolve fine. I guess you could dissolve it first, but still have it in that ratio of the gallon, the 1 gallon, okay? And it may be that just the 2 ounces of Dr. Bronner's peppermint will work itself, or the JWA. That may itself work. You may not have to use the sodium hydroxide, but I would. Agent Annie says, hi Nate, I'm in Florida where sweet potatoes supposedly grow year-round. We had a frost that killed the leaves and vines above the ground. Will the sweet potatoes keep growing? Yes, they will. The sweet potatoes will, because that's really what they're all about, is they send out the vines and everything just as solar panels, essentially, and sugar factories to send all the goodness back to the tuber, so that if anything happens, an animal comes and eats it all, or a frost comes, or whatever it is, they have all the energy that they need stored in the tuber to then make more plants and stuff. So that's like their survival mechanism. So yes, they will make more stuff, so long as the actual tuber didn't freeze. If it's buried under enough ground, then no problem. Yeah, it will come back for sure. they're actually, in your kind of area, they can actually be really invasive. You know, invasive is a word that's really overused in my opinion nowadays, but they can be hard to get rid of, meaning. Okay, Nita, hello my friend. She says, hello Nate, I have been watching your videos, your previous videos past few days. They are so full of information. You are such an inspiration. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for the positive energy, my friend. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And let's see, Mitch says, super, thanks so much. Headed out to do it now. Don't want my berries stressed. That's right. You do not want the berries stressed. And so, wait, was there a mushroom question, I think? Let's see. Oh, put it around the plants. Okay. Are potato skins good for anything? Told not to compost it, and worms don't like it. Chickens don't eat them. Who told you not to compost potato skins? See, that's the kind of stuff that I was talking about at the beginning of the video. People are so, they just parrot whatever they've heard from some, no, you can absolutely compost potato skins, no problem. Or put them into your JWA. I mean, because of course you're getting organic potatoes anyways, I would assume. Or better yet, they're the ones you've grown yourself, so you don't have to worry about sprouting agents or anything like that. But absolutely, you can compost potato skins. Very good compost. Potato skins in particular, you shouldn't even have potato skins because there's really never a circumstance where you should be peeling your potatoes, to be honest. Because the big majority of the minerals and the vitamins are in the skin of the potato and the fiber. The potato is very nourishing. Contrary to popular belief and understanding, the potato is a wonderful, almost like a superfood. I mean, people can live completely on the potatoes, but that's it. I mean, you can, if you had to pick one food, it'd be the potato with the skin on. Okay. They just get demonized because of people in French fries and all this kind of the stuff that we do with them now, and Idaho spuds and all that kind of stuff. But no, potatoes are wonderful and full of minerals. Leave the skins on every time that you can, and you're going to love that. Mitch, $49. Thank you very much, my friend. You are very much appreciated. Let me know how that works for you, and if we need to up it a bit, I have a recipe for that as well. But I don't want to give it out just yet to everyone. But let me know. But that's going to work. That's going to work for you. So as long as make sure that sodium hydroxide is just pure, though. It's got to be pure. It can't have other agents in it and stuff like that. So look on the bottle. It'll tell you if it's pure. And $10. Thank you very much, Val. Thank you, Nate. You're the best. Oh, thank you, my friend. I appreciate your enthusiasm across the channel. And Rachel, 10 pounds sterling. Thank you very much, my friend. Got some pounds in here, some sterling. Thanks for sharing the Viking knowledge. Much appreciated. You're very welcome, my guys. That is, it's wonderful sharing knowledge to people who are receptive to it. That's the best thing. You know, this is the difference between being a really useful, sort of source of knowledge and information, or being totally kind of almost like a nut job, is that these people are receptive to it and they want to hear it. They want the knowledge. Whereas like my friends and stuff around here, I probably kind of am over the top. Well, in fact, I know I am about a lot of that. And so like, oh, okay, yeah, that's great. Well, we don't grow anything and we don't really care about growing. I'm like, yeah, but you should, so thank you. Ingrid's Kitchen Garden. I feed potato skins to the chickens. The chickens might not eat them, but something will, and we'll feed the chickens. Everything goes to the chickens. That's pretty much it right there. What Ingrid just said is everything goes to the chickens. And if the chickens don't eat the skins, something will eat it, and then the chickens will eat that thing. And that's the beauty of having chickens. And then they give you the most perfect food. The egg is one of the most perfect foods. You can eat so many eggs. Man, eggs are so great for you. And yes. Also, if you have a hog, I know for a fact, because we had a hog in the mountains, the hog will eat anything. Bones. The hogs are bizarre in the sense of that. They are just an eating machine. So yeah, if you have a hog, they definitely will eat those. But I like that answer the best from Ingrid. Even if the chickens don't eat them, something that the chickens eat will eat them. Lori Asmus says, I grew potatoes last year in 5-gallon buckets. Grew pretty well, but they needed more space to spread. Going to be doing in raised beds this year. Yes, Lori, and that's the thing. A lot of people, it's so popular now for whatever reason, the 5-gallon buckets. I mean, it's for you guys growing in 5-gallon buckets, can you give me the reason why you've chosen to grow in 5-gallon buckets? Why specifically? Because truly, 5-gallon buckets that's not a good way to grow really much of anything, because it's just not the right amount of space. It's just that fine point between like a flower pot, because if you're trying to grow food in it, unless it's like one cabbage, you could grow one cabbage, successfully, definitely in the 5-gallon bucket or something, and have great success. Now, some people grow tomatoes, some people grow potatoes in them, yes, and you will get a harvest, of course, but it's nothing like it could be when they can spread out and get all the nutrients and the soil food web and all of that. That's really when they will grow the best, by far. Zach with the C, $5. Thank you very much, my friend. Howdy, Nate. Any tips on using JLF on indoor plants in the grow tent? I'm not sure whether it could lead to rancid potted plants, attract flies, etc. So it depends. What type of plants are you talking about in the grow tent? Are you talking about like seedlings that we're starting up, plants that we're going to be starting up for the outdoors, or what is it? That will sort of determine that answer. So let me know. Let's see. Does mycelium die if fully colonized and not fruiting if there is not opening hole? Thank you, my wisdom master. Yeah, spreading ideas. Okay, so what you're saying is, will the mycelium will kind of go dormant until it is triggered to fruit. So when the mycelium, and we're talking about mushrooms now. So when the mycelium grows, it forms like neural networks. It forms like networks of communication, and that it becomes one organism. And essentially, kind of like our brain is one, or kind of like we are one organism, except we're 50 trillion different cells all working in harmony. So, but we're one organism. So the mycelium becomes one organism, and it will remain dormant, or it will remain in a very high CO2 environment. 20,000 parts per million of CO2 can be inside of a container. And so once the mycelium is triggered to fruit, meaning that it is exposed to oxygen and light, then boom, then it sends all of its energy out there to fruit, because the mushroom's the fruiting body of the organism. And so it will pretty much, it can wait months before it finds the right conditions to fruit. So yes, you can let it sit for weeks or even months if need be, and then as soon as it does have the holes, it will fruit. But eventually it will die, yes. If it's not given any more water or the chance to reproduce or anything like that, then yeah, it will eventually die. Long answer for that short question. Let's see here. Okay, Zach said, Nate, my question specifically pertains to hemp seedlings plants. Okay, that's what I thought. So with those kind of plants, it's a lot different than our seedlings and stuff, because with those kind of plants, you're doing high intensity light, and the photosynthesis equation is so much higher. So photosynthesis, which is what it's all about, can be seen as an equation. It can be carbon dioxide plus water plus light equals sugars plus oxygen as the byproduct, okay? So it's an equation in the sense that these three things, every time that you move them up or down, they have to be in unison, okay? So the more light that you have, the more CO2 and the more water that you need to have, you see? Or the more water that you have, the more light and the more CO2 that you need to have. That's the photosynthesis equation. I'm super simplifying this for you. So when we have a much more intense light than what we would use for starting up seedlings, you have to use a lot more water and nutrients. So in those circumstances, yes, you can utilize the JLFs indoors, because so long as you're utilizing some living soil, because you've got such a higher rate of photosynthesis. There's more heat, there's more light, there's more CO2 exchange, all of that stuff matters. And so it's to the people, but that's why I say we don't use JLFs indoors when we're like starting seeds or for house plants, because there's just not that equation's not high enough. There's not enough turnover and the stuff will go rancid. Now, the second part to this answer is that if you only use the JLFs indoors on those kind of plants, if you already have a thriving soil food web. So if you're using chemicals, things like general hydroponics or any of the chemical fertilizers, then you're not going to have a thriving soil food web, because those bypass the whole soil food web and they starve and actively sort of kill the microorganisms. So if you're utilizing chemical fertilizers, you will not have a thriving soil food web. If you then add the JLF to it, it will go rancid because you don't have that power of the soil food web. And so that is why if you're already utilizing the living soil practices, absolutely you can utilize very dilute JLF. Yes, but if not, don't use it because it will go rancid. So that's the most concise answer I can give for that. Tree Rogi says, try burlap sacks to grow potatoes in. Burlap sacks can be okay. Yes, some people have success with them, especially if you live in like a rainforest, because anything else than that will dry out. The burlap sacks dry out so fast. In my experience, you have to water them every single day because they just dry out so fast. So for some people that can be an advantage. Some people that's a disadvantage. So when it goes 4 weeks without water and it's blazing hot here, then those are going to be a nightmare. That's one reason that the potato grow bag method that I made the video about is so good, is because the plastic, and whatever your thoughts are on plastic, I know, but I'm just showing you how to grow food effectively and cheaply, with that video. But that kind of plastic, it holds on to the moisture, and that's part of why it gives you such a better harvest, is because it keeps the moisture in there much longer than like a cloth pot or something would. And potatoes need moisture. So Hans says, the human being is actually a water crystal. Yes, my friend, I feel you. And let's see, Mom Computer, hello, my friend. Glad to see you here. She says, I grew potatoes last year in 25-gallon buckets because I have voles that decimate every ground harvest in years previous. That's why. Yes, and notice that she said 25-gallon buckets. That's what I'm talking about. If you're going to be growing in containers, you want that kind of soil space because the plants need that much. It just gives them so much more to draw from, which is very important for them. It's going to give you much better results than a 5-gallon bucket, So Taida says, we used buckets when we lived in military housing, stuck with tomatoes, peppers, herbs, eggplants, and climbing beans, but was easy to store in the off season and didn't take much space while moving. Okay, that's a reasonable situation to be using 5-gallon buckets. Definitely, that makes sense. So that's why I asked for you guys why. Lori says, for me, 5-gallon buckets because I'm still living in my travel trailer, trying to get a small house built on my land. LOL. She says, but my land in southern Missouri is fairly rocky, so we'll still do raised beds. Okay, another good example of situations when 5-gallon buckets can be useful. They're very easy to store, they stack up on top of each other, and you don't have to rely on the native soil. All reasons that we would use pots in general, but the storability and the maneuverability of the 5-gallon buckets is pretty good. So, okay, in those situations, then I could see that. But for those of us that have access to the earth, there's no excuse. There's no reason to be using 5-gallon buckets because regardless, you will not get the same robustness that you would otherwise. And you guys also got to understand a little bit like where I come from with as far as the school of where I found my passion and learned all of this over those 7 years in Humboldt County in Northern California, where I was day and night growing, and that was all I was focused on. And especially the last 4 years, I was the head grower, and so that's all I was doing. And it's like you didn't never go home. Most people go to a job and then they go home, or they have some kind of life outside of it. When you're living on the mountain, That's it. You eat, breathe, sleep the plants day and night. That's all you think about. That's all you do. That's your sole purpose for being there. And so with thousands of other people doing the same thing throughout the county, you learn so much. But most importantly, your eye for a healthy plant becomes really fine-tuned. And this is really high stakes gardening, what I'm talking about. Super high stakes, as high as it gets. And so it was very, very important that you had the absolute best possible plants, because you have all kinds of thousands of other people trying to do the same thing, but you have to stand above the rest. And so it was just amazing over the years, developing the systems and experimenting and finding out, pushing it until, okay, you have the best, and people are coming to you saying, damn, these are the best. And that's the school that I come from, as far as all of that. I don't know why I felt the need to say that, but like when I talk about starting seeds or when I talk about plants and stuff like that, my vision is perfection, is not just like getting a harvest, because that was just not acceptable where I learned about it and all of that, and where I found my passion. You had to have the best. That being said, I'm way over the top with plants, of course, and stuff like that. So just, but that's, that's what this channel is about. I mean, you will not find another channel with the same pedigree as this, believe me. So definitely agree with use the ground if possible. I moved to the Ozarks from Minnesota with great soil, not so much here. The Ozarks doesn't have good soil, is that right? Is it rocky, or what is the, I figured the soil was pretty nice. Taida says, it's good to know where you come from. Yes, thank you, my friends. That's why I wanted to share it. Clifford, high stakes gardening is a joy. Oh man, it definitely is. I was so obsessed with it day and night. So many different experiments and stuff. And that's how I found that it matters. All the way from a clone, every moment of that plant's life matters in the end product. And so any hiccup along the way, any stunting, any time where the plant stays stunted in some cold soil, or the lighting goes out, or there's all of these problems, that always affects the end result. And I knew this because I knew this to the gram, if you know what I mean. So I knew exactly what the effect of on the plants was. And yeah, so then all of a sudden it just like collapsed, and now here I'm transplanted here growing vegetables where it's not nearly the same ball game, but still that's just where I come from. So and let's see, definitely agree. Okay, Tree says, grow my worms in 5-gallon buckets, works great. Oh, nice. Worldwide winners. The earth is the biggest plant pot in the world. The bigger the root, the bigger the shoot, the bigger the fruit. That's exactly right, man. That's what we used to say as well. More roots, more fruits. Because that is absolutely true. And yes, they need the ground. And they want the energy of the ground as well. And so Mom Computer says, yes, Nate, in ground planting is best when you can. You get the advantage of the Schumann resonance frequency too. The earth is life-giving in many ways. Absolutely, my friends. James says, 5-gallon buckets work well for the traveling gardener, but nothing beats the Mother Earth, in my honest opinion. Absolutely correct. I stand behind that. The 5-gallon buckets work good for the traveling gardener, but nothing beats the Mother Earth. Speaking of the earth, I wanted to tell you guys this thing. You might have watched my short already that I had about it, but I was, there's talk about people, with visioneering things like, well, we're going to find another Earth-like planet, or we're going to terraform Mars. And I hear that from a lot of tech people and stuff like that, and people that have been totally possessed by the idea that we're going to become an interplanetary species. And if you do, that's fine. There's nothing against you. I'm just talking about the principle, okay? And because it's always in combination with like a conversation on the destruction and the poisoning of this planet that we already have. So, well, we're going to move the industry off planet, and then we're going to terraform Mars, and then we're going to become an interplanetary species by finding an Earth-like exoplanet. Yeah, okay. People, that image has been implanted in your mind. We are not going anywhere. Okay, this is the only planet that we have. Listen, so the Voyager 1, I'm just going to briefly explain this. The Voyager 1, which is the fastest spacecraft that we've shot out into space, is traveling at 38,000 miles per hour. Okay, to give you reference, the fastest speeding bullet travels at 2,000 miles an hour. Okay, so it's traveling 20 times faster than a speeding bullet. And it has been traveling, it was launched in 1977. It has been traveling for 46 years at 38,000 miles an hour. And in that time, in terms of light distance, it has gone a total of 21 light hours. It hasn't even gone one light day. So we talk about being light years away. Okay, so at that speed, it will take 20,000 years to go one light year, right? Now, the closest inhabitable planet that they're talking about constantly is Proxima Centauri b, which is 4.2 light years away. At current technology, it will take us over 80,000 years just to get there. So that should tell you right now, okay, we're not going anywhere. This is the only planet that we have that to dissolve the delusions of, okay, once we poison this planet and treat it, just abuse it and wipe it out, we can just move on to the next mother and poison her until she can't sustain us anymore. No. So, okay, that was my rant about that. And Clifford says, no new planets. The beauty is in the limits. That's a good way to look at it. The beauty is in the limits. Yes, there's no new planets. So we better learn how to live on this one because, of course, the planet will be fine, always. But we are not going to be fine. And everything else is not going to be fine. Okay? Let's see. Worldwide winners. I just hit the like button as I often forget. If you also forget, hit it now to help this channel and let others find the abundance of information found here. Very good. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. Guys, does anyone have a technique to get mildew out of leather? Because someone gave me like a really expensive, it's a Coach, like a Merce, or whatever. It's a satchel, basically. Really nice leather, but it's saturated in mildew. Do you guys have any experience with getting mildew smell out of the leather? The leather's still fine. It's just the smell is... Our Legato says, that's not what the documentary Star Trek showed. That's right. The documentary Star Trek, in that documentary, they could travel at warp speed, which was 10 times the speed of light, I think, which may or may not be happening. So... but let's see, try white vinegar. Yes, I thought of that, but have you used that? And how much and how long do I let it soak? Do I just soak the whole thing in it or what? Try labs on the mildew. That's a great idea, yes. I just don't know about that as far as soaking into the leather. I don't know when it would stop, if it would stop. Let's see. Assist says, just let them hop to the next rocket out of here. We'll stay. Yeah, absolutely. Voyager isn't the fastest ship. New Horizon. Yes, that is true. But still, even the New Horizon is going to take a similar amount of time. But the Voyager is the one that is the furthest away. And, well, there was a time when it was I forget the exact thing. But yeah, it's fast. You get the point still. But space colonization is so dumb. We haven't even explored 5% of the Earth's ocean. Yeah, and when people talk about terraforming Mars and all of that kind of stuff, man, we don't even know how to preserve the planet that we already have. We don't even know how to predict and to sustain and heal. I mean, our systems are so destroyed, are so messed up. We're just like a sort of a... We just consume. We just consume and grow for the sake of growth. Jerry, hello, my friend, says saddle soap works lots of rubbing for leather. Really? Saddle soap? And so I will get that and rub it on the leather and then rinse it off with water. Is that right? Maxie says alcohol will get mildew and mold off leather. Used it myself. It evaporates quickly and does not damage the leather. Really? So like a 70% or a 91% or what? Because I have that right now. So I could try that. Clean the leather, then apply neatfoot oil multiple times. Might be called hoof and horn. Yes, I got neatfoot oil as well. Thank you very much, glass back. But how do I clean the mildew off first? Let's see here. Lots of saddle soap after a white vinegar spray and let sit for a good 4 or 5 minutes. Wipe off and repeat to then flood with saddle soap. Okay, I will give it a try. Sounds like a consensus, so white vinegar and saddle soap is going to work. Thank you. I will try that. So we are, ozone would fix the mildew thing. I do have an ozonator. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Mildew can be taken out with a mixture of white vinegar, hydrogen peroxide, and borax. Soak well, then rinse well. If it's leather, you may have to oil it up after. Whoa, okay. Okay, mixture of white vinegar, sodium peroxide, and borax. I might have to try that one as well. Could someone put that in the comments for me after this video or something? Because the comments just, they go by so fast and stuff. Okay, now next thing. Guys, you want to, so we're going to be starting, so you have to have your seed starting system down. That's what we want. And because that's why I made the last 2 videos showing you that you can use shop lights, okay? You can use this kind of shop light. This is just a 5,000 lumen LED shop light at 4K. It also has a 5K adjustable option, so we're gonna put it at 5K. That's the light warmth, so check out the video I made about that. And because we wanna get that happening so that we can start the onions and the ginger, okay? Those are the first things we're gonna be starting. And so some people have asked about things, and I will show you exactly what I'm gonna be starting. So for the onions, guys, this year, and this is what I found over the years, is the best as far as storage ability. And let's see here. Now, I'm looking for, okay, one is going to be the Weathersfield Red from Baker Creek, okay? This is a good purple onion, medium-sized, and it stores great. I've still got a bunch of them in the basement that are rock solid, and this one's really nice. So Weathersfield Red onion from Baker Creek, long day, okay? So any of us above like Kentucky, I think. Actually, I think it's lower than that. I forget exactly. I'm thinking it's like, might be the Tennessee-Kentucky line is what divides technically the north and south as far as growing long day or short day onions. But also you could get a intermediate day onion like the Australian Brown from Baker Creek. And that one, if you're in the middle area or you're not sure where you're at, this one is going to produce pretty nice. And these store really well as well. They get a bit bigger than these, but the Australian Brown, very dependable, very pretty and bulbous. And so I highly recommend those two. I'm also growing the Yellow of Parma, but I actually don't see it here. I must have dropped it somewhere. But, well, yeah, so those are 2 of the onions that I'm growing here in northern Indiana. Oh yeah, also the Yellow Parma, because this one stores really well. So I'm trying it this year for the first time. So those will be the 3 types that I am growing this year. We're going to be starting them probably pretty much Monday. So, and also I hear Monday's a good day to be starting root vegetables. So we'll see. And we're going to start them in trays, and we're going to start them, you'll see in the video, but we're going to use the 2-tray system, and we're going to start them in a very, very simple and easy way. So stay tuned to the video, and we want to get them started nice and early because we want the onions to be as grown up as they can be. Most people, when they plant out onions, they're like as thin as this, you know, real super thin little like pencil lead, and that can work. But what you really want, yeah, Nick the Gardener, Root Tribe Day. That's right. That's why I mentioned that. So most people grow the onions so that they're really, really, you know, they're not grown up. You want them to preferably be the thickness of a pencil when you plant them out. All right, and that is going to give you the best, because the onions will, long day onions, they will grow vegetatively while the days are getting longer and longer, okay? They will grow their leaf structure and all of that while the days are getting longer. And then as soon as the days after the solstice, June 21st, and the days start becoming shorter, that's when it signals to the plant, the long day onion, to begin bulbing. And so after the solstice, it's not going to grow much more. It's not going to grow much more infrastructure, much more of the leaves. And you want as many leaves as possible on your onions, because each leaf corresponds to a layer of the onion skin. And that's more solar panels for the production of the bulb. And so for long day onions, that's what it is. Short day onions are different in the sense that the short day onions will produce as the days are getting shorter, they produce their infrastructure, their leaves and all of that. And then as the days start getting longer, that's when they start to bulb. So those typically are planted over the winter in the South, though. So yeah, that's what's up about those. And started carrots and radishes today and some onions today. Radishes, when are you able to plant, Hans Ketchup? Because radishes are super easy and super fast, I mean. Let's see. Thanks for saying about intermediate onions. I had to learn because Minnesota was long day and the Ozarks are mostly intermediate or short day. Okay. Well, the main difference is that the short day would be planted over the winter. So really the short day, true short day, is like Texas and Louisiana and Alabama and places like that. Georgia. But the intermediate day, if you just stick with these Australian brown, these things are awesome producers. I mean, they really are. So if this is your first year growing onions from seed, which I highly recommend you do, then Australian brown. So stay tuned for the video coming Monday. Yes. Let's see. Jason says, starting seeds in Texoma, built an LED-driven greenhouse in the garage. Thanks for the inspiration. Oh, nice. So you must have watched the masterclass video about seed starting, because that definitely, if you understand those 5 things, you can upscale it, downscale it, whatever it is. You could upscale it to 40,000 watts of power, or you can downscale it to your seedling setup, and it's all the same principles. And so let's see here. I'm going to miss some questions. With onions, need to be sure about long day or short day. Yeah, oh, absolutely. And the thing about sets as well, onion sets, now sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But onions are biennials, and so they grow the first year, and the second year they go to seed. And so onion sets are typically already pretty much in their second year of growth, or going into their second year of growth. And so a lot of times they will just flower, and you'll just have golf ball size onions, or ping pong ball size onions, and they just don't really do much, and they don't store very well. So that's why we don't use onion sets. We use onion sets if we want to use it for pest control. So we can plant onion sets throughout our brassicas because they're easy to place, and they will produce the flower and attract the pollinators. Because for me, the onion sets a lot of times just go to seed. And so they're really good for pest repellent to place up in the mix of all your stuff. But for making your storage onions, you want them to be in a nice dedicated bed, soft, mellow soil. Yeah. I will look for the Australian browns. Yes, good. Han says, yeah, I just threw the radishes in to see what happens. I planted in the ground with a pine straw cover. Oh, nice. Where are you at? Alexander says, do you know something about Holland yellow onion? I do not know about this. Guys, I saved calendula seeds, man. I love the calendulas. I just love flowers, seeing flowers all over the place. And the calendula are the kind that you can just throw them down basically, and you'll never have to plant them again, because they will grow and go to seed and then regrow again, new plants in the same season. That's what's incredible. is that about the calendula. And they're super cold hardy. They attract all kinds of pollinators. They bloom from early spring. Well, they bloom from early summer all the way through to frost, and even after some frost. So they're wonderful. They attract all kinds of pollinators, and you can get them in yellow or the orange ones, and then they will kind of crossbreed and create different colors. So that's why I store so many of the seeds, the calendula seeds, because I love to give them. Anyone starting a garden, I give them a handful of these because they're awesome, and they attract all kinds of good stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Han says Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. Okay, so it's not really cold there. Yeah. We buy our seed. Dimitri says we buy our seeds and plants from Diggers Club here in Australia. Okay, Diggers Club. Val says to clean leather, use men's shaving cream. Wipe into leather and use a damp wet cloth to wipe off. That is the first I've ever heard of that. That's very interesting. So a couple other things I want to tell you guys. Here is what we're going to be planting. So this is the intermediate, okay? Well, intermediate to advanced. Soil blocks are awesome. They are the way to go when you're planting stuff, but they are not so much for the beginner, okay? So if you're the beginner, do the method like I showed you guys with the, I don't know where it's at now, but the red solo cup. When I just made the very last video I made, explains why the red solo cup is a good thing to use. So the soil block, though, these are so nice because they will give the plant the air that it needs, the airflow, and we're not utilizing any of the plastic, and we don't have to pull it out of a container, and the roots aren't all bound up and stuff. So when they're in the soil block, the roots will go out, and as soon as they sense the air, then they will go down because they don't want to grow out just into air. And so as soon as they sense the air, they will prune themselves and grow downwards. And so when you have the cube, then you just place it right into the soil or right into the bigger pot if you need to. But it reduces transplant shock big time. I mean, it's really the way to go. But like I said, it's not for the beginner. You need to have your seed starting set up dialed in first because they are susceptible, to overwatering. They can be susceptible to drying out. They can be susceptible if they're just cold. If you don't have a heat mat, guys, then it will just sit there in that cold soil for a long time, and that's not what the plants want, is the coldness. Okay, for starting seeds, it really pays to get the heat mat. Nick says, I would like to try a soil block. Yes, I think you will be just fine with it. So what's important is that you pack it in there nice, but not too tight. And I'll make a video about this. But then we will just take it into our pot or into our tray like this. And we'll just, boom, pull out like that. And they all go there. And the thing with the soil blocks, you want to make sure that you are bottom watering. So here we have the tray with holes on top, the tray with no holes on bottom, and we're going to put the soil blocks in here, and then we're just going to lift it up and put about 2 cups of water down here, and that is going to water them from the soil, from the bottom up, and that is the best way to water things. Now, what is important is, Pam says, I have been listening to you and with my cell phone in my left hand and watering plants with a bucket of rainwater in my right hand. Then it started to rain. Yay, I've learned so much. That's awesome. So you're in South Africa, right, Pam? And that sounds wonderful. You're growing things, the rain. Oh, man, definitely nice. Han says, great tip, calendula. I've got some nasturtiums, very beautiful and edible too. Yeah, nasturtiums are wonderful. I love nasturtiums very much. And you can make capers. If you pickle them, you can make capers with the seeds, which is pretty awesome. So about the soil blocker. Now, some people have the really small one like this, okay? Now, I want to tell you though, the only time that you need to have this really small one is if for some reason you have very limited space on the heat mat. That's what this thing is for. Is so that you see how many you can get in there? So if you're doing like flowers or something that needs the heat mat and you have like a limited space, you can plant these small ones. And they're only this big, really. And you just put one little tiny seed into there. And then once it grows, Then you will take the small one and you will put it into the bigger one like that. And that's how you up pot it without shocking it and stuff. But obviously this one takes up a lot more space. So that is why some people use these. But personally, for me, the way that I'm growing and stuff, I never use these because you just immediately have to up pot them. So I just utilize the big heat mats and do it right into these. Because ideally, when you're starting seeds and transplant, the least amount of times that you have to disturb their roots, the better. That's really what you want. So that's why I use the big 2-inch ones. Is the liquid fertilizer beneficial for fruit trees or perennial shrubs? Yes, absolutely. Yes, very beneficial. The liquid fertilizers are super good. Add the calcium, add the grass JLF, the fish JLF. The fish JLF is going to be one of the best, guys. That's going to be really beneficial for the whole garden all throughout. Trees, yes, they love it. Also add the microbial solution. The trees love it, definitely. Always keep the ground around the trees covered as well. Don't just have bare grass that you mow right up to the tree. Have at least mulch, or preferably a living cover crop is best. Let's see. Jason says, I have grow tents, but I'm looking for more humidity and heat. Okay. What is the... Well, if you have enough stuff in the tent, then you will have the humidity if it's all wet enough. But the heat, you got to get that heat mat. You got to get it. And I put links in the description to the one, but you want that 48-inch one so that you can fit multiple of these things. You know, you can fit 4 of these on each one. Let's see. Jason says, or Mom Computer says, Nate, Jason, see Nate's video on setting up your grow tent. He has all the answers for you there. Yes, absolutely. I just assumed that everyone has already watched that one, but definitely watch that if you haven't already. It's the Seed Starting Masterclass. And guys, I want to say some things about these kind of things here. Now, if you have, for certain circumstances, these can work okay. But definitely for the beginner, forget about it. Because these things are really tricky. They don't give very much root space. Okay, if you're experienced, then you know what they need, and you can utilize these for a short amount of time. For things like spinach and stuff, they work okay. But still, a soil block is going to be so much better because this is just a tiny amount of nutrition and a tiny amount of water. So unless you're totally on it with the watering and all of that stuff, then I don't recommend, because there's just not enough soil. So if you're beginning, the red Solo Cup is the way to go, because that is going to give you a good buffer as far as the more soil there is to pull from, the more degree of leeway that you have. You see? Decon, sup Nate in chat. Yes, hello my friend, glad you're here. Our Legato, I haven't tried soil blocks yet, but love the idea as it would relate to air pruning of the roots. Yes, it's really good, and it just makes sense to me, you know, for a number of things. But then there's things like tomatoes that you can start them in there, but then I like, tomatoes is one of the few things that I like to grow up to actually like be of a decent size before I put them outside, because they transplant really well, and the more stalk structure, I just bury it, you know, so that becomes the root zone as well. Did you ever use mirrors in your greenhouses? Nope, I did not. We did not have that kind of capability. These were greenhouses that we made ourselves, like out of PVC and plastic and stuff like that, and tarps. We would pull tarps over the entire greenhouse. It was just crazy. Ms. P, hello, my friend. She says, just got in. Did I miss a discussion about soil for seed starting? I don't think soil in particular, but let's see here. Roverino says, are you using soilless mix for the soil blocks? Now, pretty much, I mean, technically speaking, pretty much all of the stuff you get from the store is soilless. So the pot, it's actually soilless growing media, because soil is sand, silt, and clay with microbes. And that is not what we get. When we get a bag of like Miracle-Gro potting soil or something, we are getting peat moss and perlite, neither of which are soil. And so they are soilless. So typically soil would be too hard for these actually, because you would pack it down. If it's like topsoil or something, you would pack it down and it would be like clay. It would be like concrete. There'd be no way that the plants could break through it. So if you're just beginning with the seed blocks, yes, you can just use, or if you're beginning with the soil blocks, you can use potting soil, which is soilless growing medium. It's not really soil, but like we said, we'll let them slide on that one. Yes, you can use the regular stuff. You can also use just pure peat moss. You know, that can also work. You need something that doesn't compact that hard, because you are compacting them. But I'll make a video on it and it will explain a bit more about what you need to do. Austin, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Does last year's winter JLF need more leaf mold soil this spring? It wouldn't absolutely need it, but yes, definitely it would be good. Add another shovel load of that or whatever. If it's a 55-gallon drum, add another shovel load. If it's a 5-gallon bucket, add 2 more handfuls and you're good to go. Yes, it's almost time for them to be coming out of dormancy. And speaking of that, you will, Dimitri says, Nate, still waiting for you to make an apple cider vinegar video. Will you do a video? Yeah, I will, but it will probably be in the fall time. I'm sorry, because I like to do things where it's like the right time for that. And so we have huge apple harvests here. There's a lot of apple trees here. And so that's when I will make that video, probably. Yes. So I don't know what it's like where you're at, if it's like now, if now's the time for that, but yeah. Larry Hobgoblin says, is it too late to collect leaf mold? Absolutely not. It does not matter the time of year that you collect the leaf mold. In the wintertime, all the microorganisms, the fungi, it's all still there. It's just a little bit more dormant, but you can still find it, no problem. So yes, get your leaf mold. Also, get your ginger, guys. If you guys are ready to be, okay, thank you. She says, fair enough. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I know it's far off and stuff, but it's, that's when I make it. So guys, get your ginger, okay? If you, the ginger, if you want to be growing ginger, you can do it this year. Don't think that you can't. Even if I'm in northern Indiana, zone 5B, 6A. You could even do it in zone 4, okay? The zone doesn't really matter. It's just the amount of frost-free days that you have. But this will be my 4th year growing it. And the first year I was dismayed heavily because I got 0 harvest because I did a number of things wrong. So I adjusted my sales a little bit. And then second year I got a harvest. I got some stuff that was pretty usable and it was good. Third year, last year, I adjusted my sales more, got a great harvest of really delicious ginger. And so now I'm confident that I know how to grow it. And so I'm confident I can make the video. And it's all about starting it up early, like now. It will be next week. Next week, we're going to have the onion and the ginger starting video because that's what we got to do. Okay. Hey, $10 from Scott Murray. Thanks a lot for stopping by, Scott. Appreciate you. And $1.99 from Hans Ketchup. Thank you very much, my friend, for the tip. Man, you guys are nice and generous today. Appreciate you. Yes. And yeah, and Scott Muir, you don't have to worry. I'll start the ginger for you, okay? And yes, we want to make sure that we start it early because here's the thing about ginger is that ginger does not even begin rhizome production until 4 months into its vegetative growth. Okay, so for most people, their ginger barely starts to make rhizomes before the cold comes, because ginger is a rhizome and it is not a root or a shoot. So it grows roots downwards and it grows shoots and plants upwards, but it grows rhizomes like out and sort of up a little bit. And so we want to get us some rhizomes and start them next week or the week after. You got about 2 or 3 weeks from now when would be the good time. But what's important is, and I'll show you this in the video, But what's important is that we get little chunks like this that have 3 eyes. That's the ideal piece right there. And we're going to cut them with a knife. And then we're going to let them sit out for a couple of days so that they can form a hard skin over them. That's important. If you just cut it and put it in the ground, chances are very high it will rot. Okay? And I found this out all the hard way. So see, there's 3 little eyes here. That's a good piece. We're going to break this piece off. That's going to be one. That's going to be one. This is going to be one. So it's all coming, guys, but go to the organic store and get your organic ginger, and that is going to be good enough. You can order it online if you want, but it's way more expensive. This is $5 a pound. Seed ginger is $45 a pound. Yes. So now granted, the seed ginger is better, but is it necessary? No. You can grow it from store-bought, organic store-bought stuff. So good afternoon, Nate. Oh yes, good afternoon, Double A. Could you cover the cut with wood ash to heal it? Says Nick the gardener. I don't know about that. Maybe I'll try that on 1 or 2, but there's not a reason for it, because if you just let it sit out for a couple of days, then it will harden up itself. So there's no need for it. But you want to slice it with a knife. But see, this one was like yesterday. It's still a little bit moist, or it's definitely still moist. In another couple days, it will look more like this one, totally healed up. And that's perfectly fine. But maybe I'll try and add some wood ash to something. Ho Chi says, greetings from Greece. Ah, yes, the wonderful land of enchantment. I used to live in Greece in a small village called Palaros, which is near Lefkada on the Ionian Sea. And man, it was one of my favorite times in life. It really was. I supported myself teaching scuba diving and spinning fire, doing fire poi to the tourists and stuff. It was just wonderful. And the mountain air and the diving in the salty Ionian Sea and eating the Mediterranean, eating the fish and the olives and the feta and oh my gosh, I love Greece. But this was during the time when their economy was really collapsing, so there was a lot of corruption happening. Ms. P, $5. Thank you very much, my friend. Might we grow ginger year-round like, might we grow ginger year-round like a houseplant? Turmeric also. Yes, it can be grown that way. Now, ginger is one of the few plants that can survive in shade, pure shade. You know, not like heavy shade, but like it doesn't need direct sunlight, actually. So it's good to get a few hours of direct sunlight, but it's also fine to put it up against like a fence or something that only gets half day and is shaded in the afternoon. But also, yes, you could bring that inside and put it in your sunniest spot in the house. It would have to be in the sunniest spot in the house. Or you could put the grow light on it, which is not really a grow light, but the shop light. Like you've seen from my last 2 videos I made about starting up seeds indoors. I tell you everything you need to know about the lights. So if you just had one of those lights, yes, it can overwinter no problem. And many people do. But you aren't really gaining a whole lot, actually, because it's not going to be in rhizome production during that time. There's not enough power. There's not enough solar power, unless you have like a greenhouse, heated greenhouse. Then, of course, you can grow it year-round. But yes, ginger and turmeric grows the same. But the wonderful thing about ginger is that the essential oils that make ginger pungent are present in every cell of the ginger plant. So all of the foliage, I can cut that down, put it into my tea, make tea with it all summer long. It's delicious. So you could do the same indoors, okay? Let's see, we grew ginger for the first time last year, outside container. Part sun, did great over summer, zone 9. Yeah, well, you're getting up there into its normal habitat, actually. So yes. Nick the gardener is finding a similarity with dipping cut potatoes in wood ash to prevent molding. Might be a good idea. Yes, that's why I thought of that as well. And that is, might be a good idea. But it's not necessary. That's the only thing, is it's not necessary. But I wonder if it would be beneficial in some way. But because you can just let them air dry. And that's what I found is the best. But this year, definitely, actually, I'm going to try and dab it in wood ash and see if I can then immediately plant it. That might help. Gabe says, I chucked lots of my veg scraps on top of my soil, and now it's growing peppers and onions, all sorts. What should I do? Pick them out individually? Well, what are you going to do with that soil? You could bury it all in a layer of leaf mold or leaves or grass clippings or something. That would be good. Or you can just let it grow up and then sort of terminate it with a mower. Or you could, and then let it re-go back into the soil. There's a number of things you can do. Are you trying to save the plants? Then you would, pick them out individually and then replant them in their own area. Because plants don't like to compete like that much with that much stuff. Let's see. Jason says, I got the ginger going also. Buy the aquarium for the heat. Okay, good. Ginger is one thing that I have found. If you do not have a heat mat for the ginger, it could take months. It could take 2 months for you to even see a sprout on the ginger. But if you have a heat mat that's got it to 80, 85 degrees, it could be 2 weeks and you'll see sprouts already. So that's the difference. That something like ginger and turmeric, they're heat loving. So Gabe says, I'm growing tomatoes indoors. I think they could be competing for nutrients. Oh, you're talking about indoors then. Oh yeah, definitely. You should pick them out. Yeah, if you've got little seedlings coming, if it's indoors, definitely you pick them out. And because you don't want any competition, all right? The only time that you would do that indoors is if you're doing like it depends on the plants you're growing. If you're doing a living mulch with like a Dutch white clover, that's what you would use as a living mulch indoors. That would be the only kind of plant that you want growing symbiotically with indoor plants because it's pumping nutrients to those root system. So let's see here. Okay, guys, well, we're approaching the end of today's session. If you have any burning questions, please let me know. And we didn't even get into the seeds. We'll do this next time. But man, I got so many seeds that we are from last year and stuff. Seeds I've saved and seeds I'm going to be planting and stuff. So all kinds of good stuff coming. The season is fast approaching. It's not here yet, of course, but first thing is going to be next week, the onions and the ginger, and then it's going to be a little bit after that, well, considerably after that, then it's going to be some other stuff, some cold hardy stuff, because here we typically plant the brassicas and stuff about 3 weeks before last frost, because they can take some pretty good frost. To our legato for the 20. What? Did I miss one? Let me see here. Ms. P. Oh, they got 2 right in a row. Our legato, $20. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Today was a great day for the tips, man. Thank you guys very much. And Ms. P, yes, thank you. And M. Clea says, making J-Dom, there's an old tree in my area. If I use the dirt there, how would it affect my indoor garden? I use labs when I water. Question is, how would these new organisms affect my soil? Okay, if I use the dirt, how would it affect my indoor garden? The thing about using soil from the outside inside is that there will be all kinds of insects in that soil. And once the soil goes into the nice warm environment of the indoor, you will have all kinds of stuff probably sprouting from that, okay? So sprouting meaning growing, all kinds of arthropods and chiggers and the I think we call them mites as well. Those little red creatures that are crawling all around. Also potato bugs and pinchers and all these other kind of things can go from there, yes. But as far as the microorganism activity, will be beneficial actually, so long as you're using living soil. But like I said in the beginning of this discussion, if we are using chemical fertilizers and stuff like that, then no. Then we wouldn't want to add, you never mix chemical and organic or chemical and natural way. You do one or the other. So yes, you can utilize it, but beware that there will be the insects hatching out of it for sure. But the microorganisms will be beneficial, okay? So let's see. And Decon, great show. Cheers. Fabrizio says, your beard is magnificent. Do you use any oils or just thriving with healthy microbiology? Yeah, you pretty much nailed it right there. Healthy microbiology. Gut microbiome is what it's all about. And from the inside out, guys, lots of bone marrow, lots of bone broth that you saw that I made the video of. I drink that a couple of times a week. And I just use olive oil. That's it. And but like I said about my nails as well, man, my nails grow so fast. And so does the beard and stuff. I mean, remember, this is only since first frost that I was growing this. And but it's gonna come before too long. It's gonna be like another month maybe or something, and I'm gonna shave the whole thing. You'll see, it'll be so shocking. You guys will be like, who is this person? Look, because my jaw actually only comes to here, you know. So yeah, it's gonna be like a shock. But I like doing it like that because then you get used to looking at yourself like this for a while. Then you shave and you feel so fresh and like new, you know. Because there's no way I'm growing this thing over the summertime like that. No way. It'd be like having a cat or a wool cloak on my face all the time, you know. Lori says, is Saturday the day you normally do your live stream? Yes, absolutely. Every Saturday, 12 noon Eastern time. That is New York time. We will be right here answering the questions. And if you have any specific questions, make sure that you bring them, guys. And turn the notifications on and stuff like that. And let me know if you have any suggestions for future videos or things that you need to see or that you need clarified. And get your seed starting stuff in line and organized so that next week you can begin the onions and ginger. Okay? So thank you very much for everything, my friends. I will see you next Saturday at 12 noon.